This is Happy Munkey.
This is Happy Munkey.
Happy Munkey. Happy Munkey.
This is Happy Munkey.
Yeah, so we're back, everybody. We're here to talk some more rubbish. Some more garbage here about life and cannabis and everything that revolves around it. You know what I'm saying? So we just happen to have the pleasure, doing all the things that we do with Happy Munkey to bridge a lot of gaps. We bring culture and corporate together a lot. And that's one of the fucking, I guess, benefits, I would say, perks, from this job that we got. You know what I mean? That's a very, very very dope-ass perk that we got. We get to bridge all these different types of people together. We smoke weed together. We have these conversations, and we bring people from our world into their world, and their world into our world, all sorts of shit, right? I guess today we get to talk about the money side of things, as far as like stock exchange and shit like that, corporate. So, you know what I mean? A lot of people, they're hearing a lot of things on the news. They're seeing a lot of things on the newspaper, the internet, Instagram, all this shit. That now the corporate world is getting involved in the cannabis industry. So nobody has a chance because the corporate is involved. Stock exchange is going to get involved. But the first stock exchange that's really, really openly involved with cannabis is Canada.
Yes. They're the only federally legal country on planet Earth. So that is the reason that they're the only ones that can have a stock exchange. And due to that, every cannabis company on planet Earth has to register their stocks on their stock market, which is the Canadian Securities Exchange.
Shit, man. So how long you think it's gonna take for us, I guess, on the American side to get involved with that?
I think on a federal level, I think 5 years, between 5 and 10. Yeah. I'm shooting more of the other 5, but I think it's already to that point because we've already got more than half the country down with the program. I think it's like 31 states medically, so I think that it's on the horizon.
And we all know once that shit get on the New York the stock exchange in general, we know everybody got to get on board. That shit ain't
That's
even
when
a
the
question.
big boys get involved.
Big boys get involved.
Right now, somebody was telling me that right now, like, people think there's so much money in cannabis and stuff, and that's just like investors, like, they have like a percentage, because right now, especially because the economy's booming so much, so they got like a small percentage, like a 10% that they like can gamble high risk investments, and that's what they're taking to put in cannabis, and look how much money it is. That's like 10%. So when that goes, that's when they go, party's over, guys. We're here now.
We're here now. Mom and pop shops don't exist after that.
It's showtime at the Apollo, guys. It's cool. I know you guys love the plan, and you guys all that stuff is cool and dandy, but big bank always breaks little bank, and that is the American way.
Yeah, so it's like when we spoke about the first episode. The trick is, I wouldn't say the trick is, because we don't know what the trick is. We don't know what's going to happen from now to 5 years.
I think nobody knows what the trick is.
Yeah, we all making, educated guesses and shit, right? So our, I guess, approach on things is to pretty much attack everything else that's around the plant that we know. We know a little bit of the entertainment business because we dealt with the music industry. We different artists and different recordings and all that shit, right? So we deal with that. We know about sales and retail. So let's get the grinders, let's get the ashtrays, let's get the rolling trays. So we run around with things that you do know. Bring that to the table, and I promise you, that's invest in yourself, and that's what that's what I basically.
And then, like you said, I think one of the biggest gifts we've had is that it's been like a social experiment, because you get to see people from all walks of life, because everybody agrees on this industry. So you know what I mean. It just helped us see that us going to these conferences and getting to know all these corporate people that, you think that, everybody's a rocket scientist. And I have a friend of mine that always tells me it's not rocket science. So, it's just about showing up, applying yourself, and there's equal opportunity for everybody. That's what we came to see once we started attending these events and did our due diligence and kind of got a pulse on the market and what's happening throughout the country.
Yeah, because not everybody knows everything. Even the big money guys are missing something. They're missing culture. They're missing the heartbeat, the pulse. What's happening in the industry? What's shaking? What's popping? All that shit. You gotta know what's popping, because if you don't know what's popping, then basically you just throwing your money away, right? Basically, right?
And we watch a lot of people right now currently are throwing their money away because those cannabis stocks are plunging right now.
Yeah, that right now. So, for example, we use MedMen. MedMen is one of the biggest people. Everybody knows about MedMen. They're the biggest, one of the biggest dispensary companies, right? I don't know, they're more than dispensary companies, but they're one of the biggest dispensaries, right? Everybody's heard of MedMen, and they're on Fifth Avenue. They ain't making no money.
Their stock is at 57 cents right now.
They ain't making no money. That's just plain talk shit. You know what I mean? Like, they ain't making no money. So imagine that. So everybody think, oh, there's a lot of big money, there's a lot of projections, and this company's gonna make this, they might make this. It's all educated guess shit.
This is an equal opportunity because nobody has this figured out.
Nobody got it figured out.
There's many industries where you have that type of equal playing field with the powers that be. So I like the odds for anybody.
I like the odds, yeah. We could roll the dice over here. If you was in the hub, we'll be playing CeeLo. Me and you like to play poker.
Poker.
I'll play my hand.
So it's just a question: are you gonna hold them or are you gonna fold them? You know what I mean? Because you got to be in this for the long haul. And if you can't, you don't have patience and you're not looking at the long game, you might run out of gas in the meantime because there's no overnight, magical pots of gold for anybody in this industry.
Definitely not.
So another thing that people need to understand, especially investors, cannabis is a high risk investment. So that means there's a possibility you can make 5 or 10 times your money. But there's also a possibility you could lose all your money. So you just better gotta be able to sleep at night knowing that, you know what I mean? It's like a high risk investment, you know what I mean? And that, but high risk, high reward, and that, and you gotta be willing, if you're gonna get your big payout, to wait it out too through this volatile roller coaster of a market. So these are all things you need to know for people that just think that you're just gonna go and pick cannabis stocks and hit the lottery. Not that simple.
But in contrast to that, there's a lot of people who fucking like the risk and they want to roll the dice and they love weed, so they're like, fuck it, I'm gonna just roll the dice and I'm gonna put up these $10 million to Vlad's idea to cannabis, and let's go, let's see what it goes, and I'm gonna just throw in $10 million in the first round, and then we just gonna have another second round because I believed in the first round, he did something, so now let's go. There's a lot of that going on. So there's a lot of throwing money around and
it's because just like any other, there's a lot of adrenaline junkies in the investor venture capitalist world, and they always got a percentage of their portfolio for the volatile high risk thing, and you know what I mean. Right now it's like a double whammy. Like you get to get your fix for your adrenaline, your high risk investment, and you get to be hang out with the cool kids in cannabis.
Yeah, I just think that shit is ridiculous.
What do you mean?
I just think that shit is
just
ridiculous.
Throwing $10 million away to see what happens.
To see what happens. It's
and
like,
then, you got another round? I got another $10 million.
Yeah, I just think this shit is disrespectful. It's just crazy, bro. They willing to just throw money, and they willing to throw that money based off a projection, which is like the highest of the highest educated guest ever. Like,
and it's so funny how they throw that term around so loosely. Like,
man.
well, we're projected to make $100 million next year. I don't know what you're talking about, young man.
Man, and they have a whole file that proves it, and they have a whole fucking.
And our team projects that in the next 8 months.
And Ralph and Hunter came up with the great formula, and that's it. We need like $5 million to start.
And that's it.
And that's how it goes. But most of them, as we've seen, and throughout the time we're going to keep seeing a lot of that shit just fall through. And a lot of people just like realize, oh shit, I just threw my money into like a retarded ass investment, because this is like a whole different situation. This is not alcohol. This is not cigarettes. This is not even like a freedom bill or like, situation. This is like we introducing a business that's already projected to like bring billions of dollars, right? The weed business, because in the black market, illicit, whatever, it has all sorts of crazy numbers, right? They making up numbers because there's no way to actually have numbers, right? But they're making up numbers. So because of this, they got this whole like image of, damn, there's like billions of dollars into this, so let's get into this now before shit pops off. But they don't really know what they putting their money into. What's popping off? What's going on? Where should you put your money in? Should you put your money into growing? Should you put your money into dispensaries? It's a whole bunch of shit to put your money in.
And there's a lot of shit to put your money into.
Yeah, but none of that still hasn't really proven to make you all these millions and billions and dollars.
And the crazy thing is this, that I've had the opportunity to sit in on some of these like presentations for these raises, and they're like, yeah, like we're doing this, it's projected to this, but then you might lose your money too, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
and they're like, okay,
yeah,
send me the deck, I'm still gonna invest.
Yeah, it might take a couple rounds. They tell you from the get-go. They tell you might take a couple rounds. And ladies and gentlemen, so you understand what a round is. It's not a boxing round. This is a fundraising round. So they'll have like fucking, I don't know, they'll have fucking 16 if they have to.
Exactly.
They have 16 rounds.
The Canopy guy, I remember the Canopy guy.
Yeah.
Their valuation is $5 billion, and I heard him say this. They had like 16 rounds already.
Damn.
16 rounds.
16 rounds of people throwing them money.
Throwing their money away. But like, we need to do another one. Yeah. We burned through that other money. And by the way, they allegedly, from what I hear through the grapevine, have burned through $2 billion of the.
That's nice.
The money already.
That's nice. They need to
$2
throw us. They need to throw us like a 0.2 of that. That's all we need, right, Hunter? We need a 0.2 of that so we could get it going for real. Oh, yeah. we could do Happy Munkey in Jamaica podcast and shit. Make a movie.
And you said that sounds ridiculous. How about they lost $2 billion?
Oh my goodness, that's
like real cash.
Oh my goodness,
not valuation, like the actual $2 billion.
That's like lifetimes of money in the ghetto. All right, lifetimes of money and changing families and communities and for life,
for like a few lives.
Yeah, for generation. That shit is generational money, bro.
I'm telling you, sometimes you hear these rounds and these numbers, you start thinking it's monopoly money. Like how many?
And you think it's fake because you see this shit online and you hear it in the newspapers. But me and you get to talk to these people. We get to talk to these different investors. We get to talk to fucking growers. We get to talk to all these people in these conferences that they really are about this money life. Y'all got to understand this. Like, little humble me and you, my friend, we over here talking to these people who really throw in a couple $1 million into these wild ideas. And not only wild ideas, because we also met real smart individuals that's throwing in money into good ideas, but they were, not only that their skill and their money on their side, they were lucky. They were really lucky. They weren't, and they tell us all the time, like, oh, well, they was lucky. If I were you, just invest in yourself. Don't invest into somebody else's idea or to whatever everybody else is projecting or some shit. And that's what they keep telling me and you.
And you know what's another one that people have a misconception of? You hear this term, we went public. We want to go public, and people don't really understand what that means. It's not always the best thing. Basically, what that
Like when your
means
company goes public.
exactly. That means that you're in your apartment alone or with your partners or whoever you're with, and you open the door and you let the whole world into your house, and now you don't run your house anymore.
No, that's
you
it.
went public though.
That's
your house
it.
is open to the public.
Open
Everybody
to
that
the
put
public.
$1 in there has a say
Has a
in
say.
your house,
Yep.
and you don't have much say in your house anymore.
No, that's what basically going public is, everyone. You let everybody in the house. They pay the fee to
They
get
pay
in.
the fee to get in, and they have a right because
They
you know
have a
you took
right.
that money, and you got to give them answers too. They want answers on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's your
agree.
house. That's cool and everything, but I
That's great.
bought in. And you took my money,
Yeah.
and you have to tell me what you're doing with my money.
Absolutely. Where's my upkeep? What's going on with the crib? My shit looking fly or what? Word up.
And that's what's going on. So that public thing could either make you or break you.
Yeah, man. It's a difficult
Everybody's
thing.
not built just like we always talk about on a different level, like with, you know, introverts and people that could socialize more. In a business perspective, you might be able to succeed when it's you, your partners, your friends, or whoever.
Yeah,
but what about when you got to deal with 1,000 strangers and give
Yeah.
answers to them?
When you let in the
will
world.
that, how will that work out for you? That might not be, you know, the environment that you want to be in as a business.
Yeah, you got all the sharks at your door.
What you mean? Inside your door? You
Inside
open the door.
You open the door. The sharks are
they're
there.
inside
The
now.
sharks are there, and all the you know, all the sharks of all the sharks are there. Like the fucking alpha sharks.
How
are sitting
about that you don't even know them? They don't even gotta ever meet you. They
Yeah.
own a piece of your house. You gotta answer to me.
They might own majority at the house, because that's the whole thing about
Yeah.
going public. Motherfucker might buy 48% of your shit, and
Yeah.
that's it. Like they're like, yo, what's up?
Exactly. So
That shit's crazy.
these are all terms that in theory sound great, but you know it's a lot more complex than people think.
That is crazy, B. So definitely, just I don't know. I'll go back to even Steve D'Angelo told us, like, yo, guys, you know, just you guys got a brand, you guys got doing your thing. Keep pushing as much as you can. You know what I mean?
And you heard one of our friends recently that we were talking to, Roger Abogado. He went, his company went bigger and they went public, and he said it wasn't for him, and he exited. He cashed out and he left it because it's not the same anymore. Like, you know what I mean? It's a totally different animal. You know what I mean? You know, you could be successful with you and 10 people in a company. Are you gonna be able to still be successful with 700 people in your company?
Yeah, because
That's what happens when you grow.
Yeah, you grow, you merge with another company, and you merge with another company, because that's what happens. That's basically what happens. They push you out.
And that's not for the faint of heart to deal with that amount of people.
You know, I mean, if you're getting into this industry, it's all about the risk. And I guess I'll say that for the new people, but for all the traditional people, you already know. You know what I mean? They already know what it is. This is all a risk. This is nothing is guaranteed. And like the stock market, man, you know, shit goes up, shit goes down. Today, my friends, we had two special guests, and we talked some money. Not only did we talk money, weed, country intersection, all sorts of shit situations going on. My friend Vladimir will elaborate on those for those who don't talk slang shit.
So, gentlemen and ladies out there on the Happy Munkey Boulevard, this week we had two amazing guests. Richard Carlton, the Chief Executive Officer to the Canadian Securities Exchange.
Yes, sir.
And we also had his counterpart, the Vice President of Listing Developments, Mr. James Black, and they enlightened us on all the different changes that have happened since federal legalization happened in Canada, and the comparisons and the analogies of what we hold here in the future to come in the U.S. and the rest of the world. So I think you guys got a good treat this week.
From the top. Let's
All
go.
right, so from the top, everybody, definitely today on the Happy Munkey Podcast show, as you know, Ramon and Vlad in the building. We are going into the boulevard. We walking into the boulevard. You know, on the boulevard, we got all sorts of different guests. This is what people don't understand. This is what Happy Monkey's all about. Is from pretty much we are a melting pot. We represent New York City, and New York City is a melting pot, and we like to have very motherfucking different motherfucking characters up in here. This is what we like. All right, everybody. You know what I mean? We ain't gonna get too technical.
That's why we are the nexus, everybody out there in Happy Monkey World, between corporate and culture.
That's it. That's what we represent right here, right now. So today, my friends, all the way from the north.
From the north.
We the North,
We
my
the North.
friend.
Well,
Still rapping, dude.
Still rapping. The North is still out here alive and rapping, my friends. We got our friends from the Canadian Stock Exchange in here, my friends. You see, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't even think that Happy Monkey would have these certain type of characters on the show, but this is what we got right here. You want to introduce our friends here, Vladimir?
Yes, I do. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our brothers from some other Canadian mothers here. First, we have my good friend Richard Carlton, the Chief Executive Officer of the Stock Exchange. Then we have on the other side my other good friends, Mr. James Black, Vice President of Listing Developments, if I'm correct.
Thank you. Yeah, that's
You got it.
accurate. Yep.
We need everybody in the boulevard to
To
give
give them
our
a
Canadian brothers a round of
applause.
applause.
Let them know how
They could
New
be
York
anywhere
do.
in the world and they're here on the boulevard with us.
With us in the boulevard, right here, man. So please, one by one, guys, introduce yourself. Let them know where you come from. Let them know what you do. Let them know how we can find you.
All right. Well, Richard Carlton, Chief Executive Officer of the Canadian Securities Exchange. As you indicated, out of the gate, almost 6 years ago now, we had some of the folks from the early stages of the cannabis industry in Canada approach us, and they were having trouble getting listed on one of the other exchanges in Canada. And we talked to these guys. Took us not very long, actually, to figure out that this was a huge opportunity for everybody, and it was going to right so many social wrongs.
Yes,
whether it's funding the black market, all of the other stuff that the war on drugs has done, and an opportunity for us to help these companies with a just incredible set of entrepreneurs that are so passionate and courageous, more than any other industry, right? I mean, these people risked imprisonment for years.
Yes, sir.
And so we had the privilege of working with these folks and helping to capitalize the industry in Canada, the United States, and now we're working around the world. We've got companies from Thailand, from South America, from the Caribbean Basin, Israel, Germany. We did a deal with the Jamaican Stock Exchange last week to.
So, just in case everybody at Happy Monkey World did not know that this is a global revolution, if I'm correct, right? Mr.
Absolutely
Richard?
right. Absolutely right.
A lot of people
Now-
think it's just the U.S. and just Canada.
Yeah, but again, outside of Canada, the United States, we're mostly talking about a recreational program. The rest of the world is going to be probably come in via the medical side.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to take a little while longer because some research has been done so far on wellness and pharmaceuticals and so on. But we do know that the medical efficacy of the plant. Can I say that? I'm using big words here.
Yeah,
but
everything here.
can I
corporate
apologize
and
for that?
culture. You got to remember.
I'm on the boulevard and all that, but I don't want to be saying efficacy.
we
with it.
No, but that's the whole point.
We teach culture about corporate and corporate about culture because we have both. So
Make some
that's
business,
it.
buddy.
Yeah, well, we
Let's do
represent culture and corporate too.
That's
Because,
right. That's right.
we're pretty entertaining and engaging guys. But
Absolutely.
in any event,
I agree.
But I think in the longer run, I'm really excited about a number of the things on the medical side and wellness side that people are going to be able to deliver as a result of the research that's being done now that we've started to open up in North America. So as I say, I mean, I think the next 10, 15 years, this is going to be an incredible opportunity for everybody who are early in this space, and
Yes.
I'm really excited to be part of it.
We at Happy Munkey believe that when it's all said and done and the smoke clears, gentlemen, that this will be the biggest transfer of wealth in recorded history.
Yeah. Let's before we go crazy, because that's a very deep conversation. Before we go,
We
crazy.
have to touch my
Let's
brother
introduce
James Black.
introduce yourself, my friend, Mr. James over here, the professional. He also has a podcast right here.
Because we
Yeah,
could go
hi.
on and on and on with Richard. Richard, you could have a whole season with him.
We're gonna intermingle podcast for a sec. Hashtag finance is
I'm-
on all
absolutely.
the spots.
And I don't mean to brag, but I'm the first 4-time guy on James's
twice.
podcast.
He's
so
okay.
I've got like a special bathrobe and a team jacket
Grandization.
and all that stuff. So it's yeah.
But yeah, no. And just to mention, because for your audience, if you're into podcasts and you're into
sir.
cannabis entrepreneurship, we probably had 30 to 40 interviews with thought leaders in the industry, CEOs, people running companies, making real dollars in the industry. And to me, that's that a lot of learning, a lot of education. You get listened to those shows. So just check it out. Hashtag finance anywhere you get podcasts. So thank you for the commercial.
Absolutely.
No,
we
thank
we
you.
wanted to introduce yourself,
Yeah,
and
man.
we wanted,
Yeah,
people
sorry,
to
and
understand.
remember, it's hashtag finance.
Yeah, you gotta type out. You put it in, you'll find it.
One of our biggest goals here is for the community to have the most access to information as possible. And
Absolutely.
we're sure that they can get
So
a lot
we
of that
love-
from your
if
podcast.
there's one thing about this industry, there's no shortage of people willing to share.
Yes.
It's collaborative, even
That's
inter-business. So even the big corporations that we deal with, that's why
Yeah.
we love it, man. That's
We
why
all need to
like-
deal with each other. Everything goes hand in hand. Advocacy and financials, they all need to come hand in hand if we want change, to be honest. So
Well, gentlemen, we always start off with this. We're going to start with you, Richard. This is part of the Happy Munkey Boulevard protocol. We always ask, what is your first personal experience with that magical plant called cannabis?
when was the first
And
time you
what
got high,
did it-
Richie?
What did it entail?
Well, the Doors were playing on the radio that night.
Well, it was in the 1970s.
Okay, there you go. That sounds interesting already.
Really, no. The music in the 70s was terrible.
Oh
I
man!
mean, we had
Canada
disco and all that
Take
stuff.
us on a blast from the past.
As
and
we
let
said,
us
as I
live
said to
through
you earlier, we did get the Detroit stations at night, so we're actually able to jump on the Soul
Okay,
Train.
okay.
So that saved my life, but otherwise,
Soul Train.
just
And Richard's not faking it, guys. He was a trombone player.
Oh.
And this one time at band camp.
Oh man! Uh-oh.
Okay, sorry, where were we?
The
First
time.
experience.
70s, yes.
Yeah, no, just bunch of friends in high school, cottage party north of the city. Sparked a few up, and
A joint? What was it? It rolled in like papers.
Yeah, we need to
Was
get
it? Was
the
it like horrible
measure.
weed? Like what kind of weed was it?
what did I know?
Right.
Like, how did I know?
I don't
I have
know.
no
That's what
idea
we
whether
wanna
it was
know.
fake
That's
weed
what
or
I
not.
wanna
Yeah, no, I gotta,
Smoke like an easy whiter, bamboo.
nice
Was it a
buzz.
girl? Was it a girl who passed it to you first?
That's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
I know we shotgunned later.
Oh,
was that-
for,
is that-
for
is
those
that-
for
Is
those
that
of you
still a thing?
absolutely for those we gotta explain. Let me explain what a
New
shotgun
generation
is.
doesn't know. We know.
Right. So shotgun, for those who don't know, you either take a joint or a blunt or whatever it is, right? And you like hold it. You hold the burning side of the joint or the blunt, and you hold it and you put it inside your mouth, right? You kind of put it, midway inside your mouth, and you blow as hard as you can so all the smoke will go out your mouth, right? Go out the blunt and go out the mouth, and then someone else, who the counterpartner in this case with my man Richie, was a female. So he blew out all the smoke, and it went
I
into
was,
her
I-
mouth,
I was
or the other
inhaling,
way
yeah,
around.
actually,
So
yeah,
he was
yeah.
the inhaler at
Yeah.
this instance, and he took the
I
big
was-
inhale.
I was catching,
He did
not
inhale.
pitching.
He's not Bill, so he did inhale. And he did inhale. So he took the shotgun. He took a hit. That's
I
what we
did.
call a
When
shotgun.
did you
That's it.
become? At what point in age did you become a frequent flyer that always got higher, Richie?
No, it's just it was not early. 17 thereabouts.
That's it. And then that's it. You started your journey.
Yep.
Johnny. So
How
how
about
about you,
you,
Mr.
Mr.
James?
James?
Oh shit. Well, actually, you know what, man? I'm 36 years old. I'm a millennial. Like,
all right, you like
I guess I'm a.
He looks like he's about half.
Yeah,
that.
I don't
you
know
were
what. I
listening to
think I'm
Wu-Tang.
an old millennial.
I'm 36, 1982.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
go.
we're
83,
82.
but
Yeah,
He
so
gets.
you know.
We're all in the mix.
He still gets carded like everywhere.
I think you guys
That's a
like.
privilege.
Baby face.
I think Richard's generation. He's not that much older than me, but he's old enough that there was an age of acceptance. I think he went through at least. And I think we had it hard. I think that us growing up in the 90s.
Oh man.
I'm gonna say this, man. Like, there's a lot of pressure on us not to do drugs,
Right.
especially
yeah, in general, right?
And they
Okay.
treated cannabis as if it was this gateway thing to
Yes.
crack cocaine or some other bullshit.
Especially here, yes.
Yes. And yeah, I mean, we don't need to get into that, but it was like that where I grew up on the west coast of Canada, which was a pretty, pot friendly, jurisdiction, just
Right.
socially. But even then, growing up, you had this sense that, man, if smoking drugs, I'm taking something off the table. Those don't do drugs ads really hit me hard, I guess, and the boiling egg and all that shit.
The egg.
The egg.
Damn, the regular hit up there. The
Your
regular
brain
ads.
on drugs.
Damn.
So my first experience was after my senior year of high school, after we rugby championship and all this, and just out in the yard and going, I got to try this at least once, right? This is...
Right.
It hasn't killed any of my friends yet.
Nope. not
Which is
yet.
actually a thought you go through. It's like, is this going to kill me? And then, it's a pretty benign situation. It has a few beers, so it's kind of hard to tell. But it was cool.
It was a joint. It was a joint. Like,
It was a joint, yeah. It was a little joint. And,
most people's are joints. I smoked a joint for the
it's
first
cool.
time.
It's the
I
only way
smoked
I've
it.
ever experienced cannabis, and frankly, it's probably still my preferred. But I'm not a regular user. But
So you gotta walk us through. You can't just roll over it that fast.
Was it a
Jay.
girl?
We
Did a
have to
girl
know
make you smoke your
the
first
scene.
joint?
Was it a joint? Was it tobacco? Was it
a girl? Did the girl make you smoke the
Kinda
joint?
guys, I know the audience wants some romantic story.
I don't want a
It
romantic
was
story.
probably
I just want the
some
real
dude who's
shit.
like, bro, you want to try his joint?
And you tried it, right?
Yeah. There wasn't a lot.
What do you think it was? Some BCs or something
Oh,
like that?
it was probably field grown BC, not hydroponic. It was just,
BC
it was
bud.
whatever. It was BC,
BC
bud.
bud.
There's a lot
And
of
when
it.
did you become a frequent flyer, getting higher, Mr. James?
I don't know if it's the best description for me, but let me say it this way, like, whether it's part of my lifestyle or not, I don't discriminate. I think I've always had an open feeling about use. Like,
Right.
it can be very constructive. It doesn't have to be destructive. And for me, if it's there and it's part of the environment I'm in, and I want to be part of it, I'm down. And if it's not, I don't need to make it part of my day. So that's the best description of my usage. You know what I mean? Like, I like it socially. I like it in the moment. It's not something I do daily, but I'm down if people are into that for their own health or mental or whatever. Or for just lifestyle.
We appreciate you, my friend. You are an advocate for us. Then it's all good for the
whatever.
frequent flyer Meyer, because I'm like flying every other hour.
Now, gentlemen, now we gotta get a little more serious and intense on you over here on the Boulevard. We need to get the people of New York City and the United States mentally prepared of how it looks like when things go fully federal illegal in a country. You guys are the
Absolutely.
first country on planet Earth to experience that. We need you to communicate
Yeah.
that to the users and help them get a visual of what that looks like and what it has done to your country.
Actually, you know what the funny thing is?
Yeah.
Nothing changed.
The sky didn't fall.
Is that can I say
Right,
that? Like
yes.
nothing changed.
For better and worse,
Right,
but you'll get to it.
people need to know because
Yeah,
as
it's the
far
fear
as
of
we
the
know,
unknown.
everybody's smoking outside. It's a whole big party, and New York is like, oh shit, Canada's legal now, so can we just go up there and have a fucking a smoke party in front of somebody's patio or some shit like that? You know what I
Okay,
mean? So
yeah,
people
sure,
wanna know,
why not?
like, what's
But-
going on?
But no, I mean it's nothing's changed.
Nothing has changed. The
You
country's
smelled
still
people
running.
smoking weed out on the street before, and
Right.
afterwards.
Nobody
and
cares now. But
Nobody
cared before, right?
Nobody cares, and already the legal market is just under 1% of GDP. Okay, and I mean, Canada's not, we're 1/10 or whatever the size of the United States,
But
but
it changed,
but
right?
almost 1% of GDP is like a big number.
So give us a little bit of the visual of like what it was like right now, let's say it's November or whatever year, and things go into effect January. How did you guys see the rollout? Just give us an idea.
Well, as far as what financial and
no,
stuff
no,
like
just
that?
like I just mean as far as like corporately, financially, culturally, like as far as like when it transitions to go federally legal.
Like I'll give you our perspective because we run a stock exchange. It's a market. It's indicative of how people's sentiment feels about what's happening financially in the world. And actually, before October 17th last year, we actually saw the market start to taper. So actually, the value of this anticipation was already valued into the whole, general feeling about what was going down. And then we got about a week out, I think, Richard, to October 17th, which is supposed to be this, like, wow, what a moment in history. And almost everyone kind of felt like, you could tell that it was deflating a little bit. Like, yeah, there was a lineup at the first cannabis store, but I think people started, the reality struck them that, I don't know,
it wasn't a big deal anyway, right?
No,
That's what
but
it was.
people who smoke still smoke, get their
Right.
supply, and like all of a sudden, like someone who like me who's very casual, I'm not all of a sudden just going to a store because you put a fucking cool
Right.
label on something.
Right, you're still going to the person you trust and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
or I'm
right?
still-
Well,
Because
yeah,
my buddy smokes.
yes, but of course, one of the objectives here is to basically have a legal market take over from the illicit market.
Yes.
And one of the issues we've got is this, it's apparently going to be, and I'm here in New York, so I have to say process, not process.
Process.
It's a process. It's a process for
You
us.
can say process.
But we've got a situation where in Ontario we've got roughly 12.5, 13 million people. Right now we have 25 retail outlets, and we're more than a year into legalization. Well,
That's crazy.
that's crazy. Plus,
yeah, that's crazy.
until a couple of weeks ago, it was all dried flower. So the legal dispensaries, all 25 of them, weren't able to sell any. They couldn't sell vapes,
No
topicals, tinctures, anything,
Okay. I don't.
except for dried flower.
Okay.
And so within the last couple of weeks, the other delivery mechanisms have become legal, but the rules aren't out, and it's not going to be January and February or thereabouts until they're actually products
Right.
on the shelves, in particular edibles and topicals.
So I was gonna ask. So what do you do with the people who are trying to transition from the illicit market? Like, are they helping? Are there programs in Canada for those type of people, or like?
It's interesting because again, Canada's of course incredibly diverse, as is the United States, right?
Absolutely.
So
It's big.
if you look at the West Coast of the United States, one of the policy objectives is to bring the folks who were supplying the black market before into the legal market.
Yeah.
Right, because you want that knowledge, you want that ability in the supporting the legal market now, right? Well, as James said, in British Columbia, big legacy illicit marketplace. So we want to get those people into the market. Bunch of other provinces in Canada, not so much, right? It's more like the East Coast states in the United States, right?
Yeah.
So if you're trying to push, I guess, the black market out of the supply chain, it means that you've got to develop this whole legal supply, wholesaling, product development, and then the retail capability to actually start to displace the guy in the corner who's been obviously selling a lot of product to people
Right.
over the years.
Probably his lifetime.
Yep.
Yeah.
People become good salespeople with practice, whether it's
Exactly.
illegal
Whether it's from the
or
corner or
illegal. You know what I'm saying?
right.
You hold down
So-
your.
so-
Perfect practice
So
makes
that's
perfect.
that's basically a topic in general.
Sorry.
Like that's a big topic in general here. Is like, how do we help the people that want to transition? How do we help the people that want to make that step? How do we help them? You know what I mean? Because there is no format, there is no blueprint, there is no program. How do we help?
All we can say is that we've seen so much talent transfer from gray market, I'll say that, to the lit market that we operate, running these companies, because you don't have the cultivars and the bud tenders and all these people
Yeah.
without them having built some chops,
Yes, sir. Yes,
doing
sir.
something that wasn't legal. So we haven't seen, at least in our experience, anyone from having a drug background try to apply and have an issue
Have
that
an
I
issue.
know of. I mean, we
Yeah,
can't speak to all situations,
right.
but as far as I know, I'm not aware of one. And
That's good.
That's cool.
good.
Like,
So
I think
after it
we're
becomes federally legal.
Yeah.
Everybody got a chance.
yeah.
So, gentlemen, what would you say, like, after now being, what would you say, a year? Or how long has it been now?
Yeah, you're in a bit.
Okay, so after a year and a bit, that, maybe give the U.S. some lessons of things that they could have done better in the rollout over there.
Well,
Who are we to say?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Well,
We're-
any mistakes you see that
Well,
you
you
guys
know,
have
there's-
made, or anything that
Nothing ever starts off perfect. That's never been done before.
Yeah, no,
and
and-
you guys
and-
are leading the. You guys are making the example for the entire planet. So that's a lot. I commend you guys for being the first
in the
courageous
forefront.
country to actually take on the challenge, because it's easy after you watch somebody else do it.
Well, as I said, if one of the biggest policy objectives here is to displace the illegal market. So how do you do that? Well, you've got to meet customer demand.
Yes.
And again, how do you do that? Well, by delivering the products and services, the quality, the brand recognition, the consistency that people expect in any
sir.
kind of consumer product setting, right?
Yes, sir.
And so you have to create the conditions to let that flourish, to bring that to market. Now, we haven't done that in Canada, like for sure. We have advertising restrictions and packaging restrictions and, all kinds of things. And I think, the jurisdictions that are legal for recreational in the United States already, by and large, do in fact have fairly liberal regulations about brand creation, advertising, marketing, all of those sorts of things. So, as I say, if you're going to displace the illicit market, which I think is everybody agrees is one of the things that we want to do, you got to basically let business do business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you want to, it becomes federally legal. What stops Joe from selling weed from his patio now? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't he? Why shouldn't he? Why would
If that's Joe's business then, that's probably his business now. I think it'll clean up some stuff, man. Quality control seems to be one issue from a outsider's perspective that is still an issue, whether it's black market cannabis or lit market. Like, it's still an issue that you can't get to your supplier and get a consistent experience, which you can with any other CPG product that ends up on a regular store shelf. So that's what we got to strive for, man. Is like knowing what the product supply is, making sure it's meeting your needs, you can get it off the shelf, and it's a complex plant. So some challenges, man. We need to put some research into this.
Yeah, it's very practical and realistic to me. Like, it's not far-fetched, anything you guys are telling me, because it's like, how do you expect something that hasn't been available for 100 years or 70 years to just one day be overnight just streamlined? I don't think that would work
that don't make no
anywhere
sense. No,
for anybody. Is going to be an overnight thing.
You're not. People say you're lifting prohibition like alcohol, but it's not. There was a legal alcohol market before prohibition. There was never a legal cannabis market. We're building a whole new infrastructure,
new
man.
Yes, sir. This is a whole new
Gentlemen,
thing.
I want to ask you, for the people that are curious, give us some comparisons and analogies from the New York Stock Exchange on Wall Street to the Canadian Securities Exchange, so we can get a idea of what.
Where we sit in the world. So, we're an exchange that was basically set up 15, 16 years ago. So we're a startup.
Oh yeah, you knew.
More or less. We're new. Yeah, 15 years went by like that, and it was really easy too, by the way. It was the opposite of that actually, but we are very focused on early stage companies, so folks that are raising money that in the U.S. would, by and large, be provided by venture capital. So, again, to get down into the weeds, what the venture capital guys call a Series A round of financing.
We're familiar.
So these are, typically companies that may not even, in fact, have revenues at this point. They're still in the product development stage. And we can still do that in Canada. Big differences in terms of the cost profile for companies that would, say, go onto the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange here. They need to have, billions of dollars in enterprise value before that makes sense for their management team and the shareholder. In Canada, average size of the companies coming to the markets is only about 12 million.
Which is not too
so
feasible for a startup.
Yeah, so our mandate really is to basically work with these companies and help get that first round of public funding to give them the growth capital they
Thank you
need
guys
to.
for rooting for the underdogs.
Absolutely, because people don't understand. Like I said before, they need that financial. You need financial help, man.
Just don't
Play
forget
around
we're
if
running
you
a
want.
business, though. Like,
Yeah.
we're not a philanthropist.
Right,
you know.
people can play around all they want,
But this has to be based on a market that works on the same fundamentals. Like, it's
about
important to
equal
remember.
opportunity, though, and when
Yeah.
you can be with 12 million on the stock exchange, that's realistic to somebody. When you tell somebody billions, that seems like 20 planets away.
No, right.
Yeah.
And not all companies would know what to do with that much money, right? So you gotta, there's companies that take 12 million and turn it into 120 million. And this is any industry, if any, that's gonna do, generate those returns. But yeah. I mean, that's what markets should serve. They should serve the public access to capital if it's competitively priced capital, and that's what we do.
And I'll tell you one of the big differences. If you think about now, compared to maybe back in the early, the 70s or 80s, we had Microsoft and Cisco and Dell and Apple and all these companies coming into the market. They came in at, maybe 10, like the kind of numbers I was talking about. 10 million, 15 million,
Practical,
$20 million.
logical, realistic
sort of thing.
numbers.
But what that meant was that everybody had
an
a
equal
chance
opportunity.
to buy the stock.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody. So unlike now, where these companies stay private, and it's the private equity investors who make all of the money, and then they go on to the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ at a multi-billion-dollar valuation, it's not that everybody has had a chance to actually invest in that story. It's, the 1% that have been able to do that.
I don't think the person that works at McDonald's can buy a Berkshire Hathaway stock that easily.
Yeah, no. My last
It's a lot of paychecks, yeah.
Yeah, that was a $260,000 a share or something last time I checked. But
That's for the A class.
How can any person that's working a common job in the middle
blue collar,
class
anybody.
aspire to participate in this?
Well, no, that's an issue. So, one of the things that we like to talk about is how we, for better or worse, democratize capital, right? So we give everybody a chance to actually have a view and, put a few bucks in. And
you can do it for on Robinhood, man. If you're anyone, you got to go Robinhood.
Now, I have a very
Something
important
like that.
question that's a big topic in the U.S., and I would love to know how it's transpiring in Canada. The major word you hear all over every conference I go to, all over the corporate cannabis industry, is social equity. I would like to know how that is being applied and how is that looking on the other side of the border.
So the quick answer is, it's. I didn't learn the meaning of the phrase social equity until I began doing more work down here. We didn't have the same level of the war on drugs with a disproportionate impact on various communities in the United States. But it is also absolutely fair to say that if you were from a lower economic circumstance, the likelihood of you being punished more severely for simple possession was higher. Right? Like, full stop. That's for sure a thing. So, but we don't have, thank goodness, the corporate prison industry.
Thank goodness.
Anytime I feel that I'm on the opposite side of an issue from the prison industry, I think my moral compass is pretty pointing in the right direction. You with me there, guys?
Shawshank, baby.
That should not be part of capitalism.
Right.
That's
Hell no.
yeah.
Public service. It's a different issue.
So we obviously our issuers are in many cases very active on social equity issues, looking to support entrepreneurs from various impacted communities in being able to benefit from the creation of this new industry. And I think that's it's fantastic, as whether it's good business, corporate citizenship, whatever you want to call it. But they've been phenomenal advocates for
I can say
social
personally here to both you guys, gentlemen, that I feel like they couldn't have gave the first platform an opportunity than to more mindful, moral people like you guys that take all these things into consideration. It means a lot.
We
that
appreciate that.
amazing people with good hearts like you guys are leading the way for the rest of the world.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. You know what, man? Like, I'll say this. it wasn't that way. It was a hard decision to embrace and to get into the industry, but I do think for even someone like Richard, who's had a little more, skin in the game and been here longer, I'll applaud his ability to take his career and put it on the line for the ability to service this industry. And we're appreciative of it. We've done well as a business as a result of it. And just there's love each way, right? Like this has been good. This has been good for everyone. And hopefully we've created jobs. We've created some maybe tax revenue to pay for public services that we need and deploy into our communities. And we have, like Richard alluded to, we have not perfected this, man. This is not the capitalist interaction with what's been, like we've discussed, a black market industry for over 75, almost 100 years. We're still working out some kinks.
I'm very interested to know this part and how what difference has it made on your side of the border, as far as like now that you guys are federally legal. How did the medicinal area aspect of it changed, and how much better or worse did it get on that aspect, not on the recreational side?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question because I think, as you know, if you're going to go the medicinal side, you have to do a lot of work with the regulators, right? The FDA in the United States, Health Canada in Canada, and that's a tough, it's a tough way to go. It's slow. Takes years. You've got to do human trials, and you've got to have very targeted results that you're looking for. So from that perspective, in terms of prescriptions and other products, that's going to take a while. But what I will say,
but the ball is in motion.
Well, it is. But what I do say is that, and I've run out of water.
Another water. Mr. Richard needs a water. Somebody, thank
Hydration.
you, Mr. Kenny Mack, Mr. Mack, for coming through with the assist in the middle of the game.
Oh, sorry, I had water right here, Richard.
There we go. All right. That what happens is people actually that would otherwise perhaps be using cannabis for medical purposes will actually self-medicate through the legal recreational side, I guess, is it fair to say.
Yep.
And boy, there is a ton of anecdotal conversation, and I think the biggest growth market, of course, is the older folks, right? People in the 70s and 80s that are
the numbers said over here in the U.S. that the highest demographic of consumers is older peoples and females. And new consumers.
I don't doubt it, man. Like I know my dad suffers from back issues and some other stuff, and he's had a beneficial experience with that. I have a sister that's got some she works through some anxiety, and she self-medicates, and that's helped her life tremendously too. So man, it's
People
medicine.
try anything that's more natural than them opioid pills, man. Anything.
I mean, take it where I used to live, Vancouver, guys. You would not see a worse situation due to opioids and heroin and stuff like that.
Crazy.
So how did you see, what effect did you think as far as like cannabis being more accessible to people now due to that? Has that declined?
Well, I'll come to you from the perspective of a new parent, right? I've got a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old boy.
Man.
I don't know if you guys got kids, but
Yeah, I have a daughter.
Yep.
Yeah, we got
Your daughter.
Yeah. So we all in the same boat, right? We gotta. How are we gonna educate our kids about? Okay, now this thing that they could have gotten anyways, unless I don't know if things got really hard, but we got the same lessons we got to teach them. So I'm just coming from that perspective. Like, how am I going to pass along my experience with cannabis, which I think has been very positive, to a child who I don't want to become a quote unquote pothead or like someone who's
right. You don't want them to just be
yeah.
a person on the couch.
And it seems exactly. And on that note, there's a lot of role models out there that show active cannabis use doesn't mean you have to have an unactive life.
Exactly. Well, this is New York is full of them. Just so you know. The mom is definitely an example here. The typical New Yorker mom that smokes pot is the superwoman of New York City. Just so you understand. You know what I mean? The single mom who works and still smokes pot is like a super active woman. So just so you know, New York City is full of all sorts of examples of people who break stigma.
I'm going to give you an analogy, guys. I have a good friend of mine that is pro that his daughter smoked cannabis. She's in college. and I asked him why. He said, Vlad, if I had a choice between her getting drunk with the fraternity or her smoking with her stoner friends, I would pick her smoking with her stoner friends than to
True
be
that.
getting
Drunk.
shit-faced with the fraternity.
But yo, like my thing is
He
like
said
this.
that's the best of the two evils.
Yes.
Yeah.
But at what age? And this is sort of my fear is like,
Oh,
man,
the
kids grow up so
age.
quick. What age? Like
The
what age?
age. The age is tricky, right? But it's a fucked up situation, and I wouldn't say fucked up situation. I'll say tricky situation because most of us who smoke pot started very young.
Always.
And we started
the
as
case.
teens, and that didn't stop me from working or getting the things that I needed to get. You know what I mean?
And let's be even franker. 99% of all colleges, people are consuming alcohol at a very high rate.
Oh, yeah.
Before they hit 21 years
Before
old.
they hit 21.
And that is a
Binge
known
drinking
fact.
and all that stuff. Yeah. It's,
Alcohol
So that was the
poisoning.
point
Competition.
that my friend made, that you prefer none, but if you had to pick one, he said he preferred cannabis. Not saying that he's promoting it, but it's just the reality of the environment.
of life. And you're in America, you in college here, and you go away to college. That's your privilege to kind of like, you know, for
And
most
AKA
You're scratching some
especially
itches.
Yeah,
her
so-
being a young female, he said he preferred the cannabis because
Yeah.
things
Oh,
don't
sure.
always go well when there's extreme amounts of alcohol
and
large amounts of
raging
people.
hormones with the fraternities around your daughter. I got
yo,
a
just
daughter,
don't do
so
too
I'm
much
like,
of both at the same time.
Well, I have two sons, so I'm not. I have nothing to contribute to this conversation.
He's been through it.
Yeah.
He's been through it. Well, it's interesting, man. It's interesting times. I think a lot of that. So we did a conference today, and I think the prevailing term was we're in phase 2.0, or the second period, or the second inning more so. And by the way, I don't know who won the baseball game
Wait,
tonight.
so
but
wait,
we'll
just
talk
to
about
get
that.
this real clear. So
Yeah.
in Canada, you can
Second phase.
grow home. You can grow at home is all good.
4 plants.
4 plants.
4 plants. What else is federally legal? You can pretty much transport if you need to
State
take
to
a half a
state?
pound to his house.
Yep.
You wouldn't have a problem.
Nope.
Does it have to be like in the trunk or something like that? Could it be in your bag in the front?
Help us
Could it-
understand, like,
know,
since you guys don't have the state to state thing, what
Right.
what the difference is in Canada as far as like the way things are being operated.
Yeah, that's a great question.
So,
I don't know.
So how many pounds can you legally like travel with from Vancouver to Toronto or something like that? Do you know that? I don't know. I'm just asking because I've never been to Canada before, so I don't know. Just little questions like that. Like if they pulled you over and it smelled like marijuana, like is that gonna be like a big problem?
No one's figured out the consumption
The
and driving
impaired driving
situation.
thing. Yeah, no, that's
Sorry, don't have an
absolutely
answer
right.
for that.
Right, because they can't really prove that I'm impaired. That's first. And I'm just saying, even if it just smells like fresh marijuana, it's like, okay, you got marijuana, so what, right?
They'll probably ask.
Yeah,
they want to know.
so-
They'll want to
right.
know if you have an illegal amount, because either you're trafficking or you're just holding. And,
Yeah,
and
no, I'm trying to remember what the
Yeah.
there is in fact a limit of
Right, that's what I'm
whatever it
saying.
is,
What's the limit?
6 grams.
We'll
or,
figure
you
it
know,
out. Somebody
whatever it is.
will Google it or something. later.
What is the protocol for people that want to get into the Canadian market for a processing license, for a grow license, and
Health
for a
Canada.
retail license?
Nice.
Yeah, so the federal, it's a federal regulation with Health Canada, and there's a whole set of rules and regulations about site security, testing, HVAC, the whole.
you guys been in a grow up before?
Yes.
Yeah, so you know the protocols. You got to wear the whites and the sticky shoes.
How about
It's crazy.
Exactly.
any consumption lounges or any consumption areas in Canada?
Yeah,
or
with it, we're as I said, the retail situation is a mess,
yeah.
and so people are still trying to figure out,
Right,
what we're going to
what's
do.
working. I mean, it's only a year. We just asking. We trying to figure out what's working, what's not, what's happening, what it is.
Yeah, basically,
You guys are the guinea pigs. I'm sorry. We love you guys. We love you guys. You're in the forefront.
But I
You guys are the
feel
guinea
so
pigs.
good that out of everybody in the world, it's you guys. 'Cause I
Yeah,
feel nobody
man.
is going to be as humane and as
to the approach. Absolutely. You guys are
good about it.
and
the
we'll
way you
probably
guys are.
apologize about it afterwards. Too. sorry.
I heard through the
Canada.
grapevine, my friend Richard, that you once upon a time also have come up with a few inventions.
Ooh,
What?
I have my
Excuse me?
sources.
Are you an inventor?
Somebody?
Somebody here? In
Damn.
Maybe some
Display-
dance moves that
yeah.
I've seen.
Yeah, no, that's possible.
Oh man.
You know, there was that one time at band camp.
One time at band camp.
He mentioned the party scene about Tel Aviv. Was that on tape? That's something I've seen Richard invent some things around.
You got the dance moves?
Can we give you some travel tips?
Look, I
just
told
for a
you, I
second?
was a
take
trombone
some
player.
travel
Of
tips.
course, I've got the
Yo,
moves.
so okay, Richard and I have been to Israel a few times.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know if you guys have been there.
No, I mean, shit. I would love to go.
if you're willing to go, it's worth
Yeah,
the trip.
it is. It is actually one of the world's underrated party cities.
Well, I mean, if
Tel
you guys
Tel
got the
Aviv.
tour guide there waiting for us, we'll be there
Oh,
soon.
yeah. You go there and
Shit.
yeah, but anyways,
They got the high tech science and cannabis, so hell yeah.
And
they
they've got
invented like the
and
molecules.
they have
man.
fabulous beaches.
Yeah.
And
People say that
this,
they're the farthest along when it comes to like research
Yes.
medically.
Yeah.
Sir. Yes,
yeah,
they're number
absolutely
one.
right.
Absolutely.
In fact, the whole cannabinoids are being isolated by what's his name, Rafi
Meshulam, yeah.
at
The Hebrew University.
At the Hebrew University in
yes,
Jerusalem.
he's the famous doctor right now.
He's the
Yeah,
guy in the
famous cannabis
60s.
doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we've met that guy.
Oh, he's the number one guy right now in the
Yeah,
world.
a lot of people speak highly of him.
Top brain. Yeah.
But they've been working for years
Mm-hmm.
because they had a very open attitude to using cannabis to treat post-traumatic stress syndrome, and of course, as we know, basically service in the military in Israel is almost universal. So it's that's a significant issue for the military and society to deal with in Israel. So early on, like I'm talking 10, 15 years ago, they were again in the space. So combined with the research and the human data that they've been accumulating, they have a tremendous amount of intellectual property that they've built up over the last years. So some very, very interesting companies.
Another question I have for you guys, over here we recently had a few issues with VapeGate. I'm interested to know how things are playing out over there as far as like with concentrates and edibles, and how is that working out over there? Is that running smooth? Is there any kinks since?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, the anything other than flower just became legal within the last week or so.
Oh,
Yeah,
And
so-
of course, in typical government fashion, the packaging rules actually haven't been put together yet. So it's going to be, until at some point into the new year when, edibles, vapes, topicals, drinks, everything else become available. So yeah, it's been a difficult road.
gentlemen, as they say, that saying is not for any reason. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither will this industry. So I commend you guys for taking on the challenge and for showing the world that it's possible. But now I have to ask you guys the $1 million question that we ask every single guest that comes on the boulevards to Happy Monkey.
You both have a turn.
If you, Richard, had to describe the brand, the movement, the space, everything that you've seen so far and heard from the brand in one word, what would that one word be, Mr. Richard?
Courage.
Courage. Nobody ever used that one.
Yeah, I don't think we even got that in the interview.
Courage.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That sounds amazing. Mr. James Black, if you had to describe it in one word, what would that one word be?
It's cliche, but opportunity.
Opportunity. Nobody's used that one either.
No. Not at all. I take that.
All right, guys. So we want to thank you guys for
Oh,
blessing
man.
us and gracing
Thank
us with
you,
your
guys.
amazing
This
Canadian
was really,
presence
really
and that
dope.
magical energy you guys carry in your back pocket.
Ah,
And we want to thank you for, enlightening the Happy Monkey community and everybody
Absolutely.
here on what's going on and how the transition has been. And most importantly, thank you for being the first country to show the world what the future looks like.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's give these people, these new friends of ours, one more round of applause.
Thank you, guys.
James and Richard, from our friends and brothers from the North. We
The
are
North.
the North. They are here. Thank you guys for coming out, man. We appreciate you guys here on the Boulevard on the Happy Munkey Podcast show. Love and light, my friends.
Till the next episode, Vlad, Ramon checking out from the Happy Monkey Boulevard. Tune in. You never know what happens on the Boulevard with Happy Monkey.
all Rep. Nice job.
New York is known, right, for right, we consume the most, right, which means we sell the most as far as retail. Retail in New York is the biggest thing. There is no growing culture. There's only block culture, shop culture, delivery culture. That's what it is. Nobody necessarily is the plug, right? As they say, because there's many different ways for you to get supplied, right? So that's not the point. The point is for you to establish your shop, your delivery service,
your clientele base.
Your clientele base. So that's basically what it is. So that's basically what the black market person has done here. They set up shop. They know how to set up shop anywhere they go because...
And you create your marketing gimmicks. Like, I remember when we were young, they used to have, like, buy a 20 bag, get a dime free.
Yeah, I used to go to spots in New Year's and
they have their versions of their little marketing ploys, and it works, you know?
And that's
It's
how it
not
goes
different.
down, yeah. I used to get that every New Year's. Every New Year's, most of the spots uptown, they give you buy the 20 bag. It comes with like a little dime bag extra and shit like
these
that.
are the marketing.
Then the jars. Then you remember the blood tubes? They used to sell weed in the blood tubes. and
That's
stuff
packaging.
Like that. Packaging. That was our type of
Packaging.
packaging uptown.
Then they had the other ones. Remember, they had they came like in a little fishy, like the little fishes come.
Yeah. That well, let's not forget about old school packaging. The bomb. The bomb always had the bomb on the bag.
That's it, yeah.
That shit used to say the bomb. So that was, that was their way of packaging. Then I used to see back in the days they used to have the chocolate bags. The chocolate bags used to have the little Hershey Kisses, like the little Hershey Kisses chocolate, like branded all over the bags. So instead of like it being in the wrap, just the actual chocolate, the shape of the chocolate, like the silhouette type of shit. So back then, and then Hawaiian used to say Hawaiian on it, shit like that. It was
Hood marketing.
hood
ploys.
market employees, boy. This shit was crazy. But back then, the Jamaicans were king, pretty much in New York. Like they had all the weed. I don't know. Maybe I'm exaggerating when they had all the weed.
No, they definitely were one of the first to get on this in the illicit market. They definitely were one of the first to have like a stronghold in New York.
Absolutely, because they had it. As far as now that we're grown, we see it. They had their actual own supply situation, and they had their retail situation in New York. Because New York.
So yeah, guys. So there you go. Your hood venture capitalism. You could apply it to.
Chocolate had the Hershey's on it. Hawaii had the Hawaiian on it. They had all the shit. You know what I mean? And they had the fucking the health food shops. They had the pool halls. They were selling out of all these buildings, and they were selling out of apartments. They had the old little shops, the juice shops, and all these things.
And then because of their culture and them being Jamaican, it sort of was basically that was like another marketing itself, because it's just like that kind of already was part of their culture with Rastafarianism and all that stuff.
Yeah, the commercial image of Jamaicans was like the whole Bob Marley smoking weed thing, right? So that was pretty much on their side. So that was pretty much the first branding and marketing in New York, but it was more based, again, off a retail situation, because that's what New York is basically about. And we can now, if they give us the opportunity, a lot of people from these areas can do the same if that's what they want to do, and they get them the opportunity. They can open up shop, they can open up a dispensary. It's easy for them to do, you know what I mean? If they give them the opportunity, if they give us the opportunity, everybody the opportunity.
Exactly, yeah, and that's what it is. Like, but right now the opportunity is now. Because you need to create leverage now. You need to learn the information now. You can't wait until everybody else comes out, because it's gonna be hard. You know what I mean? Because it's gonna go fast, and it's gonna.
And I'll give everybody a gem, I guess, that I think everybody should do. I think everybody if you out there in the blocks and all that stuff, you still there out there, pretty much take database of everybody that you fucking with, man. Like, pretty much take down everybody's phone number, make sure you got all that ready to go, man. That'll be a real good leverage for you as far as the cannabis industry, because it'll show some sort of like
some type of database.
Some type of database, exactly, because that's basically what's missing in New York. No, they don't really see, they don't know what's going on. Nobody knows what's going on. They're just making up things, and we basically know we are the biggest smokers in the fucking world. A lot of us, there's a lot of smoking going on in New York City, and that's a big way to have leverage, to have numbers, because that's what business investors and anybody that's in that corporate industry want to see. They want to see numbers. They don't really care about nothing else.
Exactly. And like we were talking about before, that there's just not one just end all be all, just only retail. There's
a lot of
50,000 different opportunities. Like anything that you're talented and passionate about, there is probably a niche and a lane for you in cannabis.
Absolutely.
Just the key is to do your due diligence and to figure out what that is, and how could you assume that role, or how could you chase that business plan, or whatever the case is, because the time is now, because this thing is being built from the ground up now, brick by brick. And
there's a lot of little companies, not little, and a lot of big companies that need content. There's a lot of big companies that need marketing. They need marketing from people from the culture, not from like these other big companies that don't know what's shaking and baking in the culture. So it's a whole bunch of things that I've seen. Like, all my people from around the way, they're good videographers. There's good people that just can create content for these big companies that's gonna need awareness here in New York City.
There are a number, like I said, too many to mention, of things that you can do. It's just that you're not going to figure out how to do any of them until you understand how these jobs are being grown and these roles are being grown in the industry every day. It's so crazy that you might come up with one that they don't even have yet.
Exactly. That's the whole thing.
That's how early it is in this game.
This shit is super early. You get in early, you just bring your niche, man, and this shit is crazy, bro. Like, look, man, we not for nothing, like, a lot of the things we've been doing is like organically, and we just like been passing by and just doing shit. Like, this podcast shit was something that we would have never thought we would have been doing, right? Like, never in a million years.
Ever.
Like, we come from that old school shit where, like, we not, like, this is not what it is, you know what I mean? Exactly. So now we here because things have changed, and, we don't... we ain't gonna get run over. We're part of the evolution.
There's a saying, ladies and gentlemen, out there on the boulevard: either you change the times or you get left behind.
Yeah, well, we decided to move forward with this, and it takes a lot. So we appreciate everybody who's listening in and rating us, and commenting and liking everything we doing, man. We appreciate it a lot, because it takes a lot for us to actually get on these microphones and talk a lot like this. Like, a lot of people see me in person, like, yo, you in the podcast and shit, yo, you whatever. But I'm like, yo, that's here in the mic, closed door, smoking weed, me, you, Hunter, Ralph in the room, not so many people in the room. So it's like, I'm good right here, but on stage or something like that is not really my thing. But the whole thing is that I was willing to sit right here in the chair. You were willing to sit right there in the chair. You were like, fuck it, let's do it, right?
Everything to gain and nothing to lose is the mentality that not only we have, but everybody should have, because that's the way that this industry is, that you have everything to gain and nothing to lose by doing your due diligence and trying to shoot your best shot to be a part of this. Mm-hmm. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to tune out and go back to our back caves. Till the next episode, guys, peace, love, and happiness.
What's good, everybody? This is your nigga Ralph, trying to keep you fresh with the info from Happy Munkey every single podcast. You already know what it is. If you haven't followed us yet, follow us on Instagram at HappyMunkey_ or Happy Munkey Goodies. Now remember, that's monkey with a U. Also, if you haven't checked us out, we're on YouTube. So check out our channel, Happy Munkey TV. Keep us current, live, and everything with the culture.